ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest here. We have Mr. Sean Gunnell. Clapping in, clapping in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you. Thank you for waking up bright and early like the orange juice to join us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And once again, thank with the Batman mug. We have to before the show started. We have to yes, all right, yes. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, man. R.I.P. to Kevin Conroy, man. Oh my gosh, man. Yeah. So with that being said, let's go ahead, finally get started. Tell us how you got started in your journey with acting.
So from the very beginning, I remember when I was in my living room, I Star Wars, the original Star Wars was on TV. And it was the very moment when Darth Vader first walked on screen. It's that white hallway with those stormtroopers and the billowing smoke in the background, and then just in walks this 7 foot, I knew nothing about him. And I just remember being captivated by his presence, by the music, by the feeling of dread in that room. And what it did to me was, I just remember I was like, there's this, this is real, but it's not. It's this, there's this world that is on screen that feels larger than life. And I think that was the first bite of that performance creative bug that bit me. And then I got into musical theater a year later. My sister was doing it, and my parents enrolled me into that. And I started doing musicals for the first 6 years of my life, from cabaret to Grease, and then started to dabble into Shakespeare when I was in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really loved from the very beginning was, it was the first time I really felt when I was in front of people, or when I was just in life, in school, anything in my life up until that point. I found that I felt this power on stage. I felt this way that I could capture people's attention just through written dialogue, just through playing on stage. And it was this intoxicating feeling that was just made me feel alive.
Yeah.
And so from musicals leading to Shakespeare, theater just kind of became my home base. But it wasn't until I was a sophomore in high school, I was doing King Lear, and I had stepped into my element. I felt like a lion on stage, playing the role of Kent, King Lear's right-hand man. And I think it was when I was 15, I said, all right, I love acting, but now I know that this is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I knew also I wanted to go into screen acting too. I love theater, but I love movies so much. So when I was 18, I started to get into doing short films with friends. But not until college, when I was 20, did I start to get into classes and start to do student films, and then really just work with as many people as possible. So probably for the last 18 years, I've known, yes, this is my journey. This is my path. I don't want to do anything else. And good times and bad times, gonna give it my all.
Yeah. How did it feel when you first seen yourself on screen for the first time? What was your emotion like?
My emotion was, I was like, you seem too much. You see, I didn't really. So because having come from theater, all I really knew, because with theater, I was taught to project to the back of the house. I was taught you have to bring so much, where film can be that little box where everything is so condensed. It's I had to, if I was like that, I had to reach everyone. I had to reach to a 600 seat house. And I noticed, I said, okay, I've got some work to do. I've got to dial it back. I've got to figure out, am I being too much? Am I not, am I faking emotions? Am I just kind of going through what works with stage? So I said to myself, I think I look good on film, but I've got a lot of work to do if I want to be consistent.
Do you ever see do you ever get a chance to get behind the camera, do any writing projects yourself?
So when I was 16, I went to a an arts camp in Idlewild. It was called the Idlewild Arts Academy, and they had this 2 week summer program for all kinds of art. And we went into I with a group of friends. We went into the film program, which had both directing and acting. I
Hmm.
wanted to do at that time. I had a video camcorder and I was recording a lot with my friends, so I wanted to try the film directing there. And I remember at that time, like I was really into the film directing, but just with the execution of the film, and it was the first time I think with the teacher he gave, like, he's like, you had a really great concept, you just had really bad execution. It kind of made me think to
Mm,
myself, like, I didn't know if I want, at that time I was 16, I was like, and I felt it, like I felt like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, so I didn't really
mm,
pursue that
Hmm.
as much. But always with friends, always with like behind the camera, I would, I've loved to, what I love to do more is with behind the camera, I love to do film editing.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So since I was a high schooler, I really got into like iMovie and Final Cut Pro, and right now I'm learning DaVinci Resolve because
Hmm.
I edit together all my own reels.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
I love to see my mind kind of works cinematically. So I can record what I can do is any movie I've seen, I can literally play it like frame for frame in my head, like almost like that crisp, clear image. So with that, doing film editing has felt very natural to me. And what I'm trying to do right now is write a short film about five friends like trapped in a house while there's this unknown like danger that's approaching the house. And I really
Hmm.
love the idea of never showing the audience what that horror is because it's so
Hmm.
much scarier in the mind than when we actually see it. So that is kind of where I'm at with behind the camera.
yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, I'm always interested in like collaborating with friends
Mm,
on getting projects off the ground and
yeah.
like growing in that way.
I like that too because I like a lot of stuff you just said and mentioned. That one part where you were saying that you don't want to show what that big major thing is with what they're afraid of. I think that's a really good because, like you said, imagination. A lot of people get afraid of what could this thing be. Like, what
Yeah.
is it? So
Yeah.
I love that. And you and Chris should talk about the editing. Y'all,
Yeah.
I'm pretty
DaVinci
sure you.
Resolve. That's
That
actually
would
what
be
I
fun.
use. I use DaVinci.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I use for the edit the show as well. So it's a great program.
But you use DaVinci Resolve or use Final Cut?
DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah, I'm in a program called Udemy right now, and I want to get my certificate with it because I want to then go out and maybe even edit friends' reels together as a side business, corporate videos,
Nice.
whatever it may be. So I'd love to speak with
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah,
YouTube, great resource for that as well. For anything. Like there's so many educational videos on Resolve. You can
you.
just
Yeah,
type it in on YouTube, you'll find a lot.
thank
Mhm.
goodness for YouTube.
Right. And I also want to double back again as well too when you said theater. When I explain things to people about when you're on stage and you were saying you got to reach all the way to the back, the 600 people or whatever, and it's real intimate. And how did take your, like you said, you have practice with channeling that right there from being on stage to on set, on film. Um, so what's more challenging to you? Do you feel like on film or stage? What's more challenging to you?
um, I for me, um, being on stage was for the longest time. Whenever I was on stage, I felt like, okay, you really can. I really can go as far as possible until
Yeah,
a director tells me to reel it in. Like it's like
yeah,
you can bellow if you're in a rage. I can bellow to the back of an audience, and only then will a director say, okay, let's fine tune bits and pieces here and there because it is like stage, it's let's give them that cinematic experience, but with live people, where they feel the reverberation and they feel that energy just blasting off the walls, so that when it came time to film, which I've been practicing for the last 14 years, I would say the biggest challenges are what Michael Caine would always say in this video that we watched when I was in school, was he always would say, keep his teachers would tell him less, and he'd say, okay, well, if it gets to the point, I'm going to get to the point where I'm doing absolutely nothing. And his teacher said, that's the point. That with film acting, it has to come through the eyes. That your eyes convey all that power, all that energy, and that you can that stillness can be just as powerful. An implosion, an impending implosion, can be just as powerful as an impending explosion.
Yes. Yeah. So we just was talking about that. Yeah.
Who talked about?
No, we just was talking about that. This is popular game that came out, and the voice acting and the acting on it is just superb, and the character is known for being a very aggressive character, but his response was so calm that it was like that was a very unorthodox response from him, but it was so powerful, like it set the tone, but it was really calm. Kratos. I don't know if you ever played God of War before, so.
No, but I've always wanted to. I'm blown away by the cinematics and that world building that they've been doing all these years.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I've learned, that I've really discovered with my journey into film acting, is what you just hit upon.
Right.
That calmness and stillness, especially from a character, let's say from a villain. Villains have always been my favorite since I was a kid. I've always been drawn to the bad guys because I would always tell people they're the opposite of who I am. So I love to play opposites. I love to give people what they wouldn't expect from me as an artist. And so with villains, what I've really loved lately is the idea that the scariest person on screen is the person who is the most in control of their emotions. Like when we see a villain on screen and we see someone who is raving, like a raving lunatic, we know, like, okay, don't want to go be around them anytime soon, wherever it may be. But if there's someone who's coming up to you and is just like calmly threatening you, just like even like a little smile on their face, but like, you don't know what they're capable of, that to me is like, okay, that's a lesson to me in, as a film artist, give them very little, have them don't know what you're going to expect, and have them, it makes them more on the edge of their seat. It makes me on the edge of my seat, like, oh yeah, what's about to happen on screen, what are they about to do? And it makes it exciting. It makes it like it makes it expect the unexpected kind of a thing. So that's where, as an artist, I'm growing into, don't give them too much, give them just enough, and entice them a little bit more. Keep enticing them, keep them interested. And it's been a really cool journey into subtlety.
Yeah,
I think that's great. And it shows, because I know you've been nominated for several and won several awards over the years. Is there a character that's been your favorite so far?
Actually, the character you mentioned, that character that I won the awards for, Collar. I can send you guys. I can send you guys the link to it if you want to watch it sometime. It's this. Yeah. It's a short film about. It's a short film about these two characters who are having a conversation on a park bench. It is a priest and my character, this young man who comes and sits down, and they begin a conversation about faith and belief systems, and that's where it begins. And then where it goes to the very end is completely unexpected, because everyone has described it as a roller coaster ride, as like, oh my God, what's about to happen next? Where did that come from? Wow. And then the ending is not what people would have prepared themselves for. So what I loved so much about this character that I played is that he I'll give a little bit away. He is more of like an antagonist to the priest's character. He is this. The best way I can describe him is that he's his purpose for being there was speaking with the priest. He is so committed in his in what he is there to do, but he is not so. He's the problem is I'm trying to stop myself because if I say too much, it might give.
Yeah, I say don't give the story away, Sean.
Okay, so that's thing I can say is that this character allowed me to be aggressive, to be vulnerable, to tap into something that actually tied me to something that happened to one of my family members. Actually, their past. A lot of pain that they went through in their past that actually really hurt them and caused them to hide away for many years. I thought to myself, if I could confront this person who hurt my family member, if I could meet them in the flesh, and if I could actually have a chance to have a conversation and even just unload a little bit as to what I'm feeling toward them, it allowed me to have both a connection to this fantastical world, but also to the real world. So it allowed me to bridge and connect with this character in a very harmonious way. Yeah. So the best thing I can say about this character that I played is it is allowed what we as actors really dream about playing: a great arc, well-written dialogue, a character who feels really real, and that you want to know more. Like the way the film ends, it sets itself up like, oh, there's a million places where this could go.
Yeah.
And it's in development right now to even be turned into a feature film or into a TV series, but it's been stalled for a few years. So hopefully I get a chance to dive back in, because the places this film could go would be just lots of fun to play.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now let me ask you a question. So the way how you explain it, it feels as if do you do the Meisner technique for your acting, or do you pretty much study it and go based off of what you're feeling? Because I've heard people that do Meisner, it takes them a while to like really calm down from putting so much of their force into what techniques do you use? I'm just curious.
What is the Meisner technique? I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't.
Oh, no worries. I'm happy to explain, actually, because I did train in Meisner for a couple of years. So Meisner, the log line for Meisner that my teacher said is that in Sanford Meisner's point of view, which was what he took away from Stanislavski's The Method, which him and Lee Strasberg and Stella Adler, they all took pieces of what they felt the method was about. Meisner's approach was imagination work. And his belief is that acting is being truthful under imaginary circumstances. So Meisner to tell you one of the best things that actually began my journey into film acting is because of Meisner. My teacher said that you are very over the top, and we need to rear you in. We need to break you down back to a foundation and to build you back up to be actively listening and responding naturally to the other person and what's happening. So what Meisner is it begins where you start by being like, if I was looking at you, Mike, and I said to you, your sweater is gray. And then it would begin by two people just repeating that back and forth, but only repeating it if it felt like a natural gut response to say it. So that's where it builds. It builds you up. So you're like improv, you're responding naturally to in the moment with the other person so that it feels authentic and real. And then you apply that to your script. You apply that to if your character is a drunk, if your character is schizophrenic, whatever it may be, you then have this toolkit to authentically break down a character, a relationship, and make each scene feel as real as possible. So for a long time, this was about 10 years ago when I trained, for a long time, I used Meisner as my base to break a script down, to figure out what am I doing on each moment, and to then just play as naturally as I can. But as the years have gone by, what I have really started to do is I've started to experiment a little bit more, actually, thanks to the classes I've learned here at Creative Acting Studios.
Mm-hmm.
Through Anthony Mendel, I've learned to really tap into more of like taking a script and really not caring what it looks like, but like really how I would truly be in those circumstances, even if it's a complete mess. He taught me how to be like, embrace the mess, embrace your chaos. That's what casting directors can really look for. I've learned to, I've found a new breakdown with breaking down wants, needs, backstory from Raquel Gardner, who I've learned with the Creative Acting Studios. So for me, what I've really been trying to do these days is just kind of play with as many different ways as possible. Meisner method, my own approaches with music, backstory, just like whatever may feel natural with it in the moment, and then just giving something that people would not be expecting and seeing if it works. Just experimentation and playing like a chef does in the kitchen.
Cool.
Nice. Love it, man. Love it, man. So who inspires Sean?
Who inspires Sean? Like the actors who like really
Yeah.
touch me?
Yeah, like I'm curious because I'm like, I wonder who are the actors that inspire you, or family, or actors who inspires you to do what you do.
My biggest inspiration is, well, my two biggest inspirations are Daniel Day-Lewis and Gary Oldman.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
and those guys don't be in a lot. They like, you catch them like, oh, they got a movie coming out. You know, they don't be in a lot of things, but when they do, yeah, it's nice.
Daniel Day-Lewis is notorious for turning down roles. He turned down Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings movies back in 2001.
I did not know that.
He was approached to play Jesus in the Passion of the Christ for this movie, but he said he felt he looks too European.
Mm.
I was like, good man.
Good man. Yeah.
But yeah, people think he's a method actor, but he said that what he thinks of himself as, and I love, he's such a descriptive, poetic person when he speaks. He said he thinks of himself as digging his hands into the dirt of the earth and digging down into the roots of life to find his character. It's like, man, you're just hitting all of us with words of gold.
Yeah.
What I respect about him so much is that he really cares about, like, 100% commitment to a role, and if he feels he can do it justice, because he does wonder if he can go to those lengths. He worries if he can like bring a character to life that much. It's like, man, stop. You do more than the rest of us. Like you are a shining example. But him, and the first one I would say actually was Gary Oldman, because Gary Oldman, what he really struck me as from very get-go was his physical transformation into his roles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we look back at like his early work from like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, whether it's makeup, whether it's changing of his hair, whether it's whatever it may be, he's a chameleon.
Yeah.
Like, not only is he a chameleon physically, like every little thing that he does, you feel there's something different. You're beholding an entirely new being. And I think that's what really struck me, is that we as humans have this ability to transform ourselves.
Yeah.
We can, if we really commit to it as an artist, whatever it may be, we can like dive into a world that excites us and inspires us,
mm-hmm.
and create something that people will never forget.
Yeah.
So, with that being said,
yes.
Say I had the Infinity Time Stone, and I can go back in time and recast any character in any movie. What character would you want to play?
Oh man, that's opening up a portal of so many possibilities. Okay. If I was 2008 Sean, I would jump a portal back in to play Christopher Nolan's Joker from The Dark Knight.
Ooh.
Oh man.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
'Cause
man.
I don't think there's I can think of very few actors who have done something so iconic that it honestly like changed the course of an industry. Because I think because of I love Heath Ledger, but like what he did though, which I think back on right now, I'm kind of going down a bit of a rabbit hole, is because of Heath Ledger that like I think our obsession with the Joker has really expanded so much. It's like why we want to see him in so many different Batman iterations, why we are like always want to have him on screen. I think because Heath did something so remarkable that he just kind of touched us in so many ways and like made us obsessed with this character. I think even more so.
Yeah.
But I would also say if I had the time stone to go back and play any role, I actually because of Daniel Day-Lewis, either two of his characters from Gangs of New York,
Right.
Lovely choice.
There Will Be Blood, and even today with the show on Amazon Prime, from The Boys, the character of Homelander. Have you guys seen The Boys?
Yeah.
I have not.
Oh,
I know. I suck at life.
Homelander is that guy where I'm like, oh my god.
You watch him and you don't know, like you just don't know what he's about to do next, because he has when a character has that much power, can literally do anything in the world, and is the way that he is. It is like you're like that sitting on the corner, like you have popcorn, you're just like, what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
What's he gonna do? So I would say a few of those characters I'd love to use that time stone and jump on back to those times.
And you know what? You touched on something that I just realized. Before Heath Ledger's Joker, they didn't go in depth in these villains. If you honestly think about it, the villains was all, like goofy. It was, of course, aggressive, all the other Batmans and even the Marvel villains. But they didn't go in depth like, okay, why is he doing this or this and that and the third. It's like after he set the bar so high that it's, because me and my wife had this conversation. We look at the superheroes, that's fine, but we really want to know who's the villain. We really come to see the villain,
Yes.
And it didn't have that spotlight until after he did what he did in The Dark Knight.
And he did something too with that. What made that character so well written is we knew nothing. We really knew nothing about his past. All we knew was his actions in the moment. No, they said like no history, no thumbprints, no nothing that we can actually figure out who this is. And I think we as a people, we as a species, I was talking about this the other day. We as a species always are curious or fear what we don't understand. And we want to understand something, let there be something either based in science or based in fact, like that can help us wrap our mind around things. So when we are given such a juicy mystery, we can't help but like want to figure it out. And I think you're right. I think villains, when they're well written and we know just enough about them to whet our appetite, but yet are still so curious about what makes them, what brought them to this place.
Right.
Like I think they did that really well with Todd Phillips's Joker back in 2019, the Joaquin Phoenix one. Right. I think they paint a really interesting picture of a man pushed so far by society to the brink of going over the edge that, it was like, it made us be like, oh, this is a very interesting take about why a person, why a villain, why they became why they were to become how they were to become who they are today, kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah, so I agree with you completely.
Yeah, I agree, man. So let's step away from acting for a little bit. We are not breaking down, characters or, studying. What does Sean like to do in his spare time?
What do I like to do in my spare? Well, first of all, to what I always love to do in the morning, as over the last, I'd say, 4 years or so, I definitely have developed my love for coffee. That to get my day going, man. To get my day
Yeah,
going.
that's good.
I bought a French press a few years ago and a grinder. And what I love to do is I love to go to local coffee shops and try whatever beans that they have. I like to, sample them. I like to take them home and then like grind and make that cup of coffee with a little bit of honey and a little bit of creamer. That sets me off for like a good day. Like
Yeah.
that's how I get my day going. That's like my zen of peace in the morning. And then just like, okay, what am I gonna do today?
How can we tackle today?
Have you
How can
ever?
we tackle the day? And something that I would do for a while, but I had fallen off is I go to a beach in LA and I go swim in the water.
Nice.
Let me
Nice.
ask. Do you have you tried a Kopi Luwak? I think is how you pronounce it. It's a coffee that's made from like cherries and cat poop.
No, Chris, that doesn't sound appealing at all.
Wait, no, actually, that's very interesting. Because based on that is that I went to Bali, about 10 years ago. I went to Bali, and we, as a family, we went to the top of like near this volcano, and they had this business where they made coffee that was extracted from the poop of a mongoose. Like
What?
what the mongoose did is it would eat these berries, and then after it did its business, they would scoop it, put it into a pot, cook it over a fire, and that's how they would begin the process of fermenting it into coffee beans. And I know that may sound completely disgusting, the idea of seeing it. I was like, are we really about to drink this? Are we really about to drink this? But I have to say is that it actually tasted really good. I kid you not, I was surprised. So I get Chris, what you're talking about.
What? I did not know. See, this is why I ask questions like I'm like, I didn't know this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's
traveler.
Yeah. So traveling, what I love to do, what I would do up in the Bay Area with friends in college. Has anyone here played disc golf?
I have.
Okay, so disc golf, for anyone who realizes, it's basically just golf with frisbees.
Nice.
They set up these courses that are about they can be up to they can be up to like 400 feet, 500 feet, depending if like the course itself is like really big and they want to make it really professional. And then with friends, you just take these discs, you throw them down the driveway, down the courseway, all the way to these baskets. They set up these baskets with these chain links,
Yeah.
so that you get down there, you count in your mind like you do in golf, like okay, that's a par one, that's a par two. You throw it into the basket, and then you play it like golf. And you can do it with friends. Like some friends, they walk with like a beer in their hand. Some people I've known will like take a hit of a J and like keep going and like keep playing. Like it allows them to be like really like in the moment and fun with it. And
Yeah.
the thing I did that with friends is it's out in nature.
Yeah.
It's you're walking amongst the trees and you hear the birds and the squirrels and other people just laughing and throwing discs through the woods, and it's like this really therapeutic, fun, just really just calming experience to have with friends. And you're having fun together, you're competing with each other. Like I always love doing that in the Bay and LA. So that's another thing that brings me joy.
Yeah.
And I would say one of my favorite things actually as a day job, I do Uber driving as a day job.
Gotcha.
And for me, that's really special because I just, whoever the person is in the car, whatever their energy is, if they want to talk or don't want to talk, I'm being of service to them. I want to get them in a really pleasant drive from point A to point B. I play this playlist that I've been making for the last 10 years of music that touches my heart.
Yeah.
And whatever they're going through, if they're going through a crisis, if they're onto something exciting, if they just want to get to know who I am, like we just have these conversations where I get to gain a piece about them. I get to share in a moment of their life, and even kind of share some of my own, and just meet another person on their own journey. whether
Yeah.
they're on a high or a low. I'm grateful that I get to just be there with them and learn about another
Yeah.
human being, and that we're all, there's so much about us that's so relatable, so similar, like that we're all kind of just figuring this thing of life out. And yeah, it's just it enriches my day where I go home and I'm like, wow, I got to have those connections with those people, and maybe tired, but I'm richer all for it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's cool. That's cool, man. And a few more questions and we'll wrap up. But no,
Yeah.
that's cool because I used to do Uber as well too, and so I know exactly what you're talking about with meeting different people and everything, and just sharing that little bit of them. The characters that I met, oh my gosh. So
Hmm.
yeah, and another thing, I think later on down the line, I think you should make your own coffee. Cause the way how you talked about it, I think that you got the name for it too. It just flows, man. Sean Gunnell.
Yeah,
Pick your
Sean
first one.
Gunnell. Coffee
Sean
by
Beans. There we
Sean
go.
Gunnell.
There you go.
Gun now.
There you go.
That would,
Yeah.
that would be fun. I'm big on medium and dark roasts, so I could figure out. Is it I'm 6'4", and I used to always like say like like they always said that the person like tall, dark, and handsome, or like for me because of my complexion, tall, ghostly, and handsome. that for like that coffee,
Yeah,
that tall, dark, and handsome cup of coffee kind of a thing.
yeah, something like that, man. You can.
That
I'm
would be
telling you, man.
fun.
You
Oh
see,
man, you guys just gave me some. You guys just gave me inspiration. I gotta figure this out.
there you go.
Yeah.
Just send us a,
There
just
you
send us
go.
a bag.
Just send us a bag. That's all we ask.
Okay, you got it. I will send all you guys. You guys can then like get on the same call, and you're all having your cup. And you bet I'll send you guys Batman mugs too.
There you go. Like, hey,
That's what's up.
we'll work that commercial, bro. We'll work it, man. Oh man, too funny, man. Few more things, man. So,
Yeah.
what piece of advice could you share with anyone that you learned over the years? What piece of advice could you share to help others in this crazy acting world?
Oh man. Okay. Well, the one thing I would say that I learned in the last year is that it's to not stop learning. To that we go we as actors, for actors who like commit to their craft and really want to like train and let's say get a degree, whatever it may be. I did that. I got my degree in San Francisco, and I graduated in 2013. I came to LA in 2014, and I did a lot of training up there. And I came down, and I didn't take a class again until 2021 because I just thought to myself, like, I learned, I trained, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to rock. And I did a lot of I got a lot of work through the last 7 years. I built my career. I admire myself for like the work I did to build the career that I got to today, and before I got with my agents and manager. And I was just like, you know what? You are your own team. You did it. But I would say that in the last year and a half, I feel like I hit a wall. I feel like I got to a point where like I thought I was doing really good. I was like, okay, I'm booking, I'm flowing, everything's going great. But then I just hit this wall, and I was like, what is going on? And I realized to myself that I had stagnated as an artist. Whatever I had learned had gone stale. That I thought that, I trusted myself enough that I can flow, and that like, people always say, keep learning, keep studying. I thought maybe, that just doesn't have to apply to everyone. But the truth is that if we don't continually practice our craft and learn new things, we can become stale. We can lose, we can, that creative spark can dry out. So the best thing I can say is that keep learning, learn from as many people as possible. Even if it's like, for free, learn from other artists, get your work out to as many people as possible. I'm glad that in the last year I've taken as many classes as possible. I've grown. I've seen the evolution in my craft. That is like, wow, okay, whatever you told yourself before, you need to do the opposite. If you're saying, I don't need to learn, Sean, you should. Even if it's like a quick
Mm.
weekend, it can make a world of difference. And yeah, I can say to any artists, learn as much as you can. Get out to as many teachers, as many friends, as many people as you admire and respect, and always accept honest feedback.
Yeah.
Always, if someone tells you something about your work, it's okay to listen to it, and they may be onto something. Always keep growing, keep learning, and the only thing stopping you is you.
Love it.
Good advice. Good advice.
Love it, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. This, man, I wish we could keep going. But I mean, we time wise, but
Yeah.
man, it has been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing, your advice, your experiences, and everything else. Get after that coffee idea, man. I'm telling you, you might be on to something right there, man.
I will. Got to figure it out. Got to just decide. I don't know where. You know what? Based on the last thing I just said, time to go learn from some people.
Yep.
Grow into that.
Yep.
Go. There you go, man. Any plans for the holidays?
Yeah. My girlfriend and I are going down to her dad's in San Diego. Big old family gathering. She and I are responsible for making some desserts. So because my sister made these all these years ago, and I've never forgotten them. I'm gonna make some triple chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yes. So like maybe a little pinch of sea salt to go into it as well to give that little bit of crunch, a little bit of a sweet and savory.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're gonna have that, and then after the holidays on December 2nd, I will be attending a screening and world premiere of a feature film that I was in a couple of years ago that will be performing at the Cine Lounge in Hollywood, and there'll be a nice Q&A after that. So it'll be the first premiere of my work I've gone to probably in about 3 years. So I'm really excited for that.
Beautiful, man. Love it, dude. Next time I'm in LA, I'll hit you up, man. I was out there a couple weeks ago. I was just looking for stuff, man. But yeah, man, most definitely, man.
One thing I really do want to share.
Yeah.
The most important lesson I have learned in the last year and a half is that, especially for actors in LA, you could submit for a role and be amongst 50,000 people who submit for a role. They're going to select between 1,000 to 1,200 actors to audition, and then they're going to select 3 for a callback. The thing that I really learned about myself in the last year and a half is that I thought that by auditioning so much, I was getting nowhere. I was hitting all these walls. Nothing was happening, feeling the ghosting of self-tapes. I hit a lot of lows. And through a friend's suggestion, I got back into therapy. And therapy really helped me to find my work life, my personal life, professional life balance again. And in that time, I learned a few things. One, just because things are quiet, just because the downtimes may be happening, just because your wave is down low, that your process, it made me think of myself that my process is like a flower. I've planted a seed. It's not going to come out of the ground immediately. It takes time to grow. It takes time to spread its roots, and that flower is going to blossom eventually out of the ground. That was one thing I learned. Second is that casting directors, I learned this from a casting director. Casting director said that the casting directors bring you in to audition because they're rooting for you. They want you to be their guy. They want you to be that discovery of theirs. They're rooting for you to be that person who's going to get the callback and get the role. So if you don't get the audition, if you don't get the callback, the audition is still the win because you're getting into the room. When you get into the room, it's an audience. And that in the low times, that to celebrate those wins, to celebrate, yes, I get to audition today. I get to work at my craft today. That the craft is not just acting. The craft is not just booking the role. The craft is the play. The craft is the opportunity also with the downtime to be yourself, to shut it off, to not be 1,000% focused on the acting, because I did that for a while. I forgot to be me. So in the last year and a half, by getting back into therapy, enjoying my life, growing, and appreciating all the aspects of the art, it's like I got to be that seed to come out of the ground and to blossom. And whatever is meant to be will never pass us by.
Man,
Nice.
That's it.
Nice.
love that. Love that, man.
Nice.
Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Thank you again, bro, for joining us. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure, man.
It has Joff, Mike, Chris. Thank you guys for today.
Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful questions. You three clearly have a great model working here, and it was a pleasure to be interviewed by you gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Likewise.